Good morning, Cedar Valley. I'm Aisha Khalid, and this is Saturday's Quiet Echo. I want to give you a number this morning. 34. 34 hours. That's how long it takes to turn an acquaintance into a friend. The research comes from Robin Dunbar, an anthropologist at Oxford who spent decades studying human connection. His team found that friendship isn't magic, it's math. Roughly 11 interactions, each lasting about 3 hours, spread over 5.5 months. 34 hours of actual presence. Not texting, not scrolling through each other's posts. Actual time, face to face, life alongside life. I've been sitting with that number all week, Teresa wrote on Sunday about Eva Schloss, who gave nearly 4 decades of her life to showing up in classrooms and prisons, telling her story to anyone who would listen. George wrote on Tuesday about neighbors in Los Angeles who knocked on doors during the fires, grabbed garden hoses, and are still rebuilding together a year later. Chloe wrote about putting her phone face down to make cookies with her daughter. Dan invited us to find one way to serve on Monday. 4 voices. 4 different stories. One thread running through all of them. Presence. Chloe's piece struck a nerve. We received a letter this week that I want to share with you. It's from Jane Lisbeth, and she doesn't live here in Cedar Valley. She's a real person who read Chloe's column and felt moved to respond. Here's what she wrote. I saw a very dramatic change in my granddaughter when she was given her first phone at age 10. She's turning 12 today. She only wanted to communicate through her phone. Gone were the art projects and writing activities we grandparents had done with her previously. Sarcasm became her primary method of communication, and her phone her best friend. The only way we seemed to connect was through TikTok videos she wanted to share. I want you to hear that again. Gone were the art projects. Gone were the writing activities. The only connection left was TikTok videos. But Jane didn't give up. She spoke with her granddaughter's parents and made something clear. The child was always welcome, but the phone was not. There was anger at first, of course there was. But they held the line. They set clear rules. And now her granddaughter can use her phone for brief periods while visiting. Here's how Jane ends her letter. My granddaughter now enjoys spending time with us again and is happy with the arrangement of limited phone use. I commend Elena's mom for being on the right track. Cookies, not TikTok, for kids and adults alike. Cookies, not TikTok. That's what the Dunbar research confirms. Friendship, real connection, isn't built in fragments. It's built in hours, art projects, writing activities, conversations that meander without purpose, time that feels inefficient because it isn't optimized for anything except being together. The phone promised to connect Jane's granddaughter to the world. Instead, it disconnected her from the grandparents sitting right in front of her. The platform delivered content, videos to share, but it stole presence. And presence is what the 34 hours are made of. The latest research from Cigna found that 57% of Americans report feeling lonely. Not just alone, lonely. There's a difference. Loneliness is the gap between the connection you have and the connection you need. And that gap doesn't close with more followers. It doesn't close with faster notifications. It closes with hours, 34 of them minimum. Think about that. We've optimized nearly everything in modern life for speed. We order groceries in minutes. We stream entertainment on demand. We communicate in fragments, texts, emojis, reactions. But friendship resists optimization. It refuses to be compressed. A 3-hour conversation cannot be reduced to a 3-minute voice memo without losing something essential. The research says each interaction needs to last about 3 hours to be mutually beneficial. 3 hours. When was the last time you spent 3 uninterrupted hours with someone? Not watching something together, actually talking, actually listening, actually being present. Jane's granddaughter is 12 years old. She's getting those hours back, the art projects, the writing activities, the unhurried time with grandparents who love her. It took boundaries. It took a grandmother willing to say no to a device and yes to a relationship. It took the hard work of being present when a screen offered an easier path. That's what all of this week's stories have in common. Eva Schloss understood something about presence. She could have written her story and let the book speak for her. Instead, she traveled. She sat in classrooms. She looked teenagers in the eyes. She gave them not just her words, but her hours. Thousands upon thousands of them. That's why her witness mattered. The neighbors in Altadena understood it too. When the fires came, they didn't post condolences from a safe distance. They knocked on doors. They stayed. A year later, they're still there, rebuilding side by side. That's not efficiency. That's community. Here's my quiet question for this weekend. Where are your 34 hours going? I don't ask that to induce guilt. We all have limits. But the question is worth asking because presence is a choice. And choices shape relationships. And relationships shape lives. The research also tells us that once a friendship is formed, it takes about 1 hour per week to maintain it, 9 minutes a day. Miss those 9 minutes, and the quality of the friendship diminishes by 1%. It's a slow erosion barely noticeable in any single day, but devastating over months and years. Jane's granddaughter lost 2 years to sarcasm and screens, but she's getting them back now. One phone-free visit at a time. The art projects are returning. The conversations are returning. The relationship is being rebuilt. Monday is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Dan invited us to find one way to serve. I want to add to that, find one person to be present with, not a text. Not a quick call while you're doing 3 other things. Real time. Unhurried attention. Let the 34 Beganor continue your resume. Dr. King dreamed of the beloved community, a society built on justice and love. But beloved communities aren't built by institutions alone. They're built by people who show up for each other, hour by hour, conversation by conversation, art project by art project, porch by porch, cookies, not TikTok, presence, not performance. 34 hours. It's not much, really. It's less time than most of us will spend on our phones this month, but invested in another person fully present, fully attentive, it's enough to change loneliness into friendship. Where will your hours go? Before I sign off, a word about Jane's letter. Jane Lisbeth is a real person. She's the author of Writing in Wet Cement and Raising the Dead, and we're grateful she shared her story with us. That brings me to an invitation. Cedar Valley may be fictional, but the questions we wrestle with here are real, and so are you. If something in these editorials resonates with your own experience, if you have a story to tell, a question to ask, or a reflection to share, we want to hear from you. With your permission, we may include your words in a future column. The best conversations aren't one way. Write to us. Let's build this community together. That's your Saturday morning from Cedar Valley. I'm Aisha Khalid, and this has been Quiet Echo. Be present with someone this weekend. Aisha Khalid, Teresa Nikas, George Khan, and the whole Cedar Valley community first came together in Quiet Echo. When loud voices divide, quiet ones bring together. If you want to know how a small town found its way from fear to fellowship, one quiet act of courage at a time, you can find it on Amazon. I'll leave the link in the show notes.
You've been listening to the Cedar Valley News Podcast, where small-town voices meet the headlines shaping our world. From faith and family to front porches and fields. We'll be back with more stories connecting real lives to real events. Until next time, keep your porch light on, your faith strong, and your heart open.